Is accuracy the best goal? That's a good question, and it comes to us from Alex in New York City. Alex writes, are the best sound systems the most accurate? Or are there subjective factors that ought to be taken into account? I made a post on a message board asking for loudspeaker recommendations. People came back with questions like, well, how much bass do you like? I always thought that there was a correct amount of bass, the amount that you'd hear if you were listening to the musicians in person. I hear the same thing when I ask about tubes versus solid state. People ask, what kind of sound do you like? And in a video you made about studio monitors and home systems, I hate when it comes back to haunt me, I think the point was that studio monitors allow engineers to distinguish elements in the mix clearly, but don't produce the most pleasing overall result. Is one accurate and the other inaccurate, or are they both inaccurate in different subtle ways? Thank you. Alex, that's a great question. Juicy, as my friend Seth would say. That's a juicy question. I think probably the latter. They are all wrong in different subtle ways. And one of the ways that we know that they're all wrong is that we are very far away from creating or recreating, reproducing live sound. We can fool ourselves. We can get pretty close. And sometimes, like I was just upstairs in Gus's studio and we were trying out this new microphone and he was, and he had it positioned about this far away, and there was a young man in here, Dan, who was playing guitar, acoustic guitar, and singing. And it was one of the most remarkable recordings I have ever heard in my life. It was just stunning. And as I closed my eyes and listened on Gus's mastering system, I could almost imagine that he was in the room. But that's kind of what I told myself. I am making huge allowances for the speakers and the system. And look, the mastering system, the original tapes, I mean, you're talking about one of the best, if not the best recording system in the world, with one of the best microphones in the world, in a perfect room, captured live, nothing, just a microphone into the world's best recording system and one of the best playback systems on the planet, and listening to it in the same room that it was recorded, right? It doesn't get any better than that. And yet, as real as it sounds, you would never in a darkened room have fooled me that there was actually a person there. Just, my ears are so sensitive, I don't know. And yes, once in a while I'm fooled, like, wow, where did that come from? You know, a sound over here or a sound over there. It sounded real, right? Generally speaking, it really doesn't fool you that somebody's in the room. So we have to accept the fact that everything we listen to and reproduce sound is phony. So, which flavor of phony do you like? I mean, that's basically it. Now, I strive my hardest to make the system as accurate as possible. And I'll tell you why. If you go for neutrality, if you go for accuracy, the advantage is that you can have a broad plethora of music, a variety that goes from opera to, we were just talking about Eddie Van Halen a few days ago. You can have that entire spectrum without any one of them sounding overly this or overly that, because you've gone for neutrality. And if you've kept all the good stuff, you know, the transparency, the imaging, the dimensionality, the tonal balance, if it's all pretty correct, then you can go from Maria Callas, you know, singing Tosca, to Leonard Cohen's gravelly voice over here grinding out Suzanne. And all of it sounds pretty damn good, really does. If, on the other hand, you go for a tube sound or you go for a lot of bass, then when you play some tracks, well, they're going to have too much bass, and it's going to limit the amount that you have available in terms of variety. But if you only listen to stand-up jazz, if you only listen to heavy metal, you might be better served, focusing your energies on things that only make that make heavy metal sound good, because typically they're pretty bad recordings. So you could probably do something like that. But for my tastes, which are quite wide, quite varied, I prefer to have accuracy, neutrality, and full range, because when I have that, it gets me as close as possible to the live event, with the understanding we're pretty far away from true live events. Okay, thanks for the juicy question. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.